Good morning, everybody. If you could please come over here and take a seat. The program's going to begin in a moment. But actually, before you sit down, if you could please join us in standing for the start, another rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. So drift on over this way towards the microphone and stand for the national anthem if you would, if you are able. Everybody, if we've got a couple of seats left over here, if you'd like to come and join us, but you're welcome to stay standing as well. My name is Marie Pellissier. I am the program officer at Mass Humanities who has the joy of working with the Museum on Main Street program. So I am the person who coordinates all of this, who makes sure that the exhibit gets from point A to point B to C, D, E, and F as well. Welcome to Voices and Votes in the town of Lee. If you don't know, this exhibit is traveling in the state of Massachusetts for the next 7.5 months. So it actually started here in April up at the Mohawk Trail Regional School in Buckland. It was there for 6 weeks. And they packed it up into some crates and sent it down here. And where are the folks from the DPW here in Lee? They're back in the corner. Everybody give them a huge round of applause. Our gallant DPW workers were a part of the team that took those crates, brought them down here, and unpacked and set up this exhibit under the stellar leadership of Sabrina Toohey. Sabrina, she's hiding in the corner, to bring the Smithsonian to Lee. And so I'm your MC. I'm not really supposed to be up here stealing all the attention, but I do want to just say a couple of quick, huge thanks before we start our official speaking program. As I mentioned, huge thanks to the town of Lee itself, to Sabrina, to Chris, to the guys from the DPW for saying, hey, let's try this out. Let's try and bring the Smithsonian to Lee and see what happens. This is what happens. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
So if we could give them one more huge round of applause. I'd also love to thank the Eagles Band for the music they've provided so far and for the music they're going to provide later. as well as thank in advance all the folks who are on our speaking program today. And I'm sure that our Executive Director, Brian Boyles, is probably going to do this as well, but I would like to say that we've got a couple of Mass Humanities board members here today. Aaron Vega over in the corner there, who's our board chair, hiding behind the band. And then Dina Caswell, who hosted the last round of Museum on Main Street down in Sheffield. So we've got some great folks here. And with that, I am going to hand the microphone over to Sean Renier, the chair of the Lee Select Board.
Low bridge. Yeah. Wow, this is amazing. Hang on. Thank you, Marie, for your wonderful words. And I'd like to just start by thanking everybody for coming here. DPW for setting up, and Sabrina for all that she did. This is quite an honor, and it's really just a showcase for how important voting rights are. And because of the great efforts of the past, that it's because of that we have this freedom to express our votes, and I'm sure that I'll learn a lot here, and I'm excited for that. And really, I just want to express what a true honor it is to be one of the few towns in Massachusetts to host this. It's really incredible, and in my opinion, voting is really one of the most important rights that we have, and it allows us to control the direction of government, how things develop, and it's important for us to have these conversations, and it's always my belief that we should continue to expand voting rights and access however however possible. And nationally, that's not something that I can really do much about, but I just wanted to kind of give everybody a local rundown of the process and things to do and things to think about. Actually, in Lee, annually, we do have an election, and it's important, I think, for everybody to just be aware of that. It happens right around the beginning of May, and the 5 positions, or there's 5 or 6 depending on the year, but usually annually you have the opportunity to run for either the select board, the planning board, housing authority, town moderator, and the school committee, and so often you can run for constable as well. Right now, currently, we have a vacancy on the school committee, so if anybody's interested. But I just wanted to mention how running for office can really stimulate competition and the conversation around issues, and that helps drastically turn out the vote for town elections. Specifically, this last year we didn't have the greatest turnout, but in past years where there has been competition, we get quite a huge turnout. So that's really what I just wanted to come up here and express, and how important it is, and yeah, what an amazing opportunity it is to host this. So that's about really all I have to say, and I really do want to thank Sabrina for everything that she did again, because it's solely her efforts that allowed this to happen in Lee, and that's really all I have to say. I'd give it back to Marie, or I think Brian Boyles is next here, the executive director.
Thanks so much, Sean. And on behalf of our board and our staff, I want to thank the Select Board, thank Sabrina, thank this town for bringing this exhibition here. It means a ton to us, and I think at this time and in this place we couldn't be doing more to think about what it means to be in a democracy. This exhibition began as a much bigger exhibition at the Smithsonian, and it was called American Democracy, A Leap of Faith. And I think that we know, as someone who lives in a small town in Franklin County, that people in this area have something to say about Massachusetts, about a democracy, because that leap of faith began here. We know next year we're going to be celebrating 250 years of this democracy, and no one should be heard more clearly than the people living in this region, because you have a long tradition, including what Sean just spoke about, to uphold. My wife is on the planning board in our town. I know how much service goes into doing that work, and I think that when we talk about democracy, we sometimes think about what's on the news, but actually it's what you all do. It's what the stories are in this exhibition that we all need to celebrate together. So glad to have music here. Completely impressed that we have Sabrina as a project director who can sing in a world-class voice this national anthem. Thank you so much. We are one of 56 state affiliates of the National Endowment for Humanity. So there's one of us in every state. And what we do is work with a national organization like the Smithsonian, our state government. I'm so glad to be here and to meet Rep. Davis, and Mass Cultural Council to find the funding to bring in partnership this exhibition to local communities. Now, what we don't do is we don't tell you what it needs to look like, right? This is the content of the exhibition, but you shape what the stories are. You decide what's important in these words when it comes to the people of Lee, when it comes to this location. That's how it ought to work. 6 weeks, I guess it's about almost 2 months ago, this exhibition kicked off. So it stops in 6 different towns for 6 weeks at a time. When the folks came together at the Mohawk Regional Trail School to put it together, we brought people from all over Massachusetts. All 6 of those towns came together to unpack this and put it together in what is maybe the biggest Lego set you can imagine. We didn't ask them for their party affiliation. We just asked them to put the parts together. And they did that work. And they took it back apart, packed it up, and sent it here. I think there's something really beautiful in that. It's something we can all learn from the work that they do, most of them volunteers, to travel this around the state. Now, what I also want to say is I'm going to do a lot of shopping here today. And this won't be the last time we're here. So this is really a 3-year engagement that Marie leads. It starts with, and I think this is also part of why we believe we have a part in democracy, us putting a group of people together who selects which 6 towns are going to host this. So we did that. Dina Caswell was part of that, and luckily she made a good choice to represent South County. But we bring people together who have expertise on rural life, on history, on what it means to do museum exhibitions. And they choose these 6 towns. You are one of them. You are the second stop. It'll go on to Ashby after this. And when we do that, we provide a $10,000 grant to the town of Lee in order to do the training, in order to do these programs, and I guess to paint these walls, which is pretty amazing. But after it's done, Sabrina and her team have done all this work, right? The select board has bought in on all this. We know now how to do awesome things. So we provide a second grant so that we're working with you guys for another year after these 6 weeks. So I want to be a familiar face. I want to know when there are discounts available in the stores. But I also want to make a promise from us to you that we are going to continue to work and listen to what you all feel is important about this democracy, and about the humanities, and about this state. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Brian. It is now my honor to introduce Representative Lee Davis, who has a couple words to share.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's so nice to be here with you today. So my name is Lee Davis, and I have the honor of representing the 3rd Berkshire District as your state representative. It's my pleasure to be here in Lee, where civic spirit and a deep love of community are alive and well, and I'm so happy to be one of the welcoming team to this exhibit. First of all, thank you so much to the Select Board, to Sabrina, and to Mass Humanities, Brian and Marie. Thank you. I know it took so much to really get this together. And thank you to Mass Humanities for the $10,000 grant, because we couldn't have done it without you. So just to reiterate that Lee is one of only 6 communities in the Commonwealth to host this exhibit. So that speaks volumes for really what we can do here in Lee. I also want to talk about a little bit how this exhibit means to me. As someone who was born and raised in Washington, D.C., growing up, the Smithsonian was more than just a field trip. It was more than a rainy day outing. It was more than an escape from the heat. It was my playground. It was my classroom. It was my portal into the past. I wandered the Air and Space Museums. I wandered the Natural Museum of History, and of course the American History Museum. And I was drawn to the exhibits that told our story of democracy. I remember standing in front of Thomas Jefferson's portable writing desk, where the one he used to draft the Declaration of Independence. I remember seeing the inkstand of Abraham Lincoln, who used to draft the Emancipation Proclamation. And I remember seeing the table where Elizabeth Cady Stanton composed the Declaration of Sentiments, demanding full rights for women. And I remember seeing something else. I remember seeing those giant campaign posters, the colorful I voted posters, and the buttons, and the sounds of protests throughout the United States and throughout our history. I remember thinking how much noise, how much effort, and how much heart went into shaping the country I lived in and loved so much. And then there was the massive American flag that flew over Fort McHenry, the one that survived the bombardment of the War of 1812. The flag still gives me chills when I'm in Washington, D.C., because it just wasn't cloth. It was a symbol of the fragile idea of democracy that could withstand attacks. And just 2 weeks ago, I was on the Mall again, watching my daughter graduate from George Washington University with a degree in political science. Seeing her step into the future, right in the Capitol where our democracy lives and breathes. I felt a spark light up again, and I saw that same spark light up and take hold of her. And that's exactly what this exhibit is about. It's bold, it's messy, and it's a still unfolding experiment called American democracy. A revolutionary idea that power should not come from a king, but from the people. The government should be, in Lincoln's words, of the people, by the people, and for the people. But we also know that idea has never been simple. From the beginning, our democracy has been shaped and reshaped by the questions we still ask today. Who has the right to vote? Whose voices get heard? What does true representation look like? These questions aren't just historical. They're alive and they're pressing. And they are being asked and answered right here in Lee, right here in the Commonwealth, right here in our nation. In the past 2 years, I've had the humbling experience of running in 2 elections, a primary and a general. And I can tell you, nothing reminds you of the power of democracy like standing in the doorsteps, listening to people's stories, and asking for their trust. What I heard most time and time again was not despair, it was belief. It was belief that our voices matter, that participation still counts, that democracy, while imperfect, is worth showing up for. And that's what this exhibit celebrates. It's what Lee is embodying right now. You're not just hosting this exhibit, you are living it. We see it in the public conversations around the Housatonic River cleanup, where civic responsibility meets environmental justice. We see it in our youth engagement, students creating campaign posters, voting in mock elections, and learning that their voices can help shape the future. We'll see it again later this month during the Juneteenth event panel discussion with Multicultural Bridge. We'll see it again with the W.E. Du Bois unveiling of the sculpture in Great Barrington. Powerful reminders that democracy demands both celebration and reckoning. Because democracy is not just a museum piece, it is a living practice. And Voices and Votes bring this practice to life. Through historical artifacts, yes, but also through questions, through videos, through stories, and local voices. It asks us, how do you participate? What kind of citizen do you want to be? What kind of community do you want to shape? From the revolution to the suffrage to civil rights and casting ballots, everyone in every community is part of this evolving story. That's what I love most about this exhibit. It doesn't just ask you to look, it asks you to engage, it asks you to reflect, and it asks you to act. Because these famous objects, the desk, the inkstand, the flag, they didn't just change the world on their own. The people using them did. It's now and it's our turn to do so. Whether it's casting a ballot, mentoring a student, organizing a cleanup, or serving on a committee, or simply being here this morning, you are shaping the next chapter of this American story. So thank you to Mass Humanities, thank you to the Smithsonian, thank you to the Select Board, and thank you to everyone that is here this morning for making this moment possible, and thank you for showing up. Let's be honest and let's keep asking those questions and let's keep moving forward together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Davis. At this point, we're going to turn it back over to the Eagles Band for a little bit more music. You're welcome to continue to browse the exhibit, help yourself to some refreshments in the back, and please continue to enjoy. Grab a pamphlet so that you know when the programs are coming up. Take a look at the event schedule, and once you're done and ready to leave, scan the QR code and take the visitor survey and let us know what you thought of Voices and Votes. Because those visitor surveys are how we and the Smithsonian can make an argument to bring more of these exhibits back to places like Lee. So thank you all again for being here. Thank you so much again to everyone who's helped make this possible, and I turn it over to the band.